Pro Bowl in North Kansas City, Missouri, Prime proudly presents the Harris Open, the 21st of 22 Open Division qualifiers of the Brunswick World Team Challenge. And welcome to Kansas City. Tonight our final three teams battling each other, battling the calendar. This is their last shot to qualify for the Grand Championship event. Hi, everybody. Great to have you with us. I'm Bob Dolan, alongside, of course, the Hall of Famer Earl Anthony. These three teams that we'll see tonight are not entered in our final event in Baltimore. So tonight is their last shot to qualify for the Grand Championship event. So a lot of pressure here tonight on these bowlers. And Earl, a lot of talent here tonight, too, especially on our number one team, which so far, at least, has dominated.
Well, they have, and Storm Vice Grips has just been outstanding all the way through the tournament. Captained by Joe Vito, they tied the all-time record for match play in the 10-match format by going 9-1, which is just outstanding bowling. So don't expect them to be an easy match today.
So they're in our championship match, waiting for the winner of our semifinal match. That includes our number 2 seed, Contour Power Grips.
Contour Power Grips, captained by Joe Natoli, another outstanding ball club with a lot of experience, and experience has always been a major factor in the World Team Challenge. 3 of their players have qualified all 3 years that we've had a Grand Championship to go to that Grand Championship, their best finish being 6th, but look for them to be tough to beat.
And they'll take on our number 3 team, Lodge Lanes.
Lodge Lanes, captained by Bob Goike, the Hall of Famer from Bellevue, Michigan, put together a team he thought could bowl extremely well on our difficult World Team Challenge lane conditions, and he picked the right guys. As you can see, they're here with a chance to win the championship today.
So a lot of talent we're going to see tonight, and a lot on the line, too. We're glad you're with us. Semifinal match coming right up.
Women's International Bowling Congress, providing championship service to sanctioned leagues across the United States. Make sure your league is sanctioned by the national governing body. By Lynn Shoes. For the performance approach, it's American-made Lynn Shoes, the choice of bowlers worldwide. By Contour Power Grips, the pioneers of the finger grip industry. More pros choose Contour Power Grips. You should too. And by Brunswick. Bowling is sold on Brunswick worldwide.
The Harris Open at the NKC Pro Bowl in Kansas City, Missouri. Bob Dolan and Earl Anthony back with you. This is our semifinal match. Number 3, Lodge Lanes against our number 2 seed, Contour Power Grips, and Kelley Bennett, the leadoff man for Lodge Lanes. Championship pair, 41 and 42. First ball of the night is a dandy from Kelley Bennett.
Well, we've got a good lane condition out there as far as the pattern is concerned. The players are going to have not too much of a problem getting the ball in the pocket area. The problem is going to be carrying the corner pins. And the scores were reasonably good this week for the World Team Challenge, with the tournament leaders averaging pretty close to 204 in the qualifying rounds and right at 212 or 213 in the match play, which is outstanding match play.
Doug Becker responds, leadoff man for Contour Power Grips. So a pair of strikes from both leadoff men brings us to Larry Walker. Second frame for Lodge Lanes. Contour Power Grip starting lineup brought to you by Contour Power Grips, pioneers in the finger grip industry. More pros choose Contour Power Grips, and you should too. Walker, second frame. Well, we're on pace, Earl. It's early, but we're on pace. $25,000 perfect game challenge. The bonus brought to you by Bud Light. Make it a Bud Light. And a look at the other lineup for Contour Power Grips. Our lineup brought to you by Contour Power Grips, pioneers in the finger grip industry. More pros choosing Contour Power Grips, and you should too. This is Gail Myers Jr., second frame for Contour Power Grips. We're perfect so far.
He gets to the foul line a little different than you might expect most players to. As far as the arm swing, a player of this caliber very seldom has an arm swing that gets this far from his body, and we'll get a look at it from the back when we get a chance. And watch how far away the arm swing gets away, and then he tries to tuck it back. Now, if his feet get a little bit fast to the foul line, he doesn't have time to get the ball back in where it belongs, near his right ankle, his left ankle, and if he doesn't do that, it's going to go left.
And our first open of the night. Remember, this is 2 games, total pinfall, and it's in the Baker system. After the first game, they switch lanes.
It's kind of interesting. Bob Goike, as you know, is a Hall of Famer. He's been around a long time, very intelligent player. and knows how to adjust and read the lane conditions very well. So he went back to Bellevue, Michigan, where he owns a bowling center, and he picked out 4 guys that he thought could bowl on what he considers the typical World Team Challenge lane condition, and this is what he's put together. And he's done an outstanding job. That shows you how smart he is as far as figuring lanes and knowing his players.
Lodge Lanes with 3 strikes in a row to open up the semifinal match. Remember, our number 1 seed, Storm Vice Grips, waiting for the winner of this semifinal. Last chance for all 3 teams to qualify for this Grand Championship in August. Joe Natoli, classic style here you're going to see. Joe from Milwaukee. 3rd frame for Contour Power Grips.
His ball just rolled right up high on the head pin and set there. It's almost like he was trying to throw an end-over-end roll and have it set up in the pocket, but it got a little high on him. Watch Joe's release right up the back of the ball. He won't turn it much. Here you see the end-over-end roll. The ball rolls up and stops right through the middle. The 4-7-10. The idea here, of course, is to slide the 4 across the lane into the 10. So he wants to get just a piece of that 4 pin as the ball goes off into the 7.
Well, a pair of opens now for Contour Power Grips, but again, this is a 2-game total pinfall, and Earl, we see it every week that no lead is too big in the Baker system.
That's for sure. So many of these matches come right down to the 10th frame of the 2nd game between the 2 anchormen, and it's so important to have good finishers on your team. The guys bowling 4th and 5th are the key people in the Baker match play. See him working his hand in, and sometimes the heat, the humidity will make a bowler's hand swell a little bit. It's hard to get your hand in the ball, and then when you try to force it in, you're afraid you're going to hang up in the ball. So what do? You make sure you get it off early, and the ball hooks early and goes left. So that's exactly what happened here. Now watch how quick the ball comes off his hand at the bottom of the swing, and it's already going left. Doesn't have a chance to keep the ball on line.
That's 4 in a row for Lodge Lanes in our first semifinal game. This is Jace Peterson, 4th frame for Contour Power Grips.
Jace, another player that's been around a while and really is a hard worker. He's the kind of guy that if you want somebody that's going to grind it out for you and always be there trying to make the best shot he can, a real competitor, Jace is a prototype of that. This is the kind of guy you look for in team competition because you know he's always going to be there working hard to help you.
Yeah, this guy, whoever fills this 4 and 9 slot is very important in the lineup, aren't they, Earl? Because
the position that can not just get spares. He's going to get some strikes for you. That's what he's there for, so you can catch that double going into the 10th.
A big early lead for Lodge Lanes, 54 pins. Now to our first look at the anchorman, Hall of Famer Bob Goike.
Bob will get it well out in the lane in the air. He likes to throw it over the heads.
Looking for 5 in a row. There's 5.
Now, if anybody's got fast enough eyes to figure out what kicked that 10 pin forward, I got to think it was the head pin. Came all the way back around. Here, we're going to take a look at, watch how well he gets the ball out on the lane. Clear about 12 feet in the air. Now watch the head pin go to the wall. Comes all the way back across. It hit, looks like the 8 pin and sent it into the 10 pin. Watch the ball in the air. What that does is takes the heads with the first 15 feet of the lane, which creates the most wear from the bowling balls, takes it out of play.
Dennis Rakauskas, anchorman for Contour, and more trouble for this team.
Well, trouble is right. The 6-7-10 here, and Dennis, another player that you would expect to be very difficult to beat. He's real good in the clutch. He makes the good shots almost consistently well. Constantly consistently well is a better way to put it, I guess. And he's an excellent spare shooter. Don't be surprised if he slides this over.
5th frame. Oh, went for it and missed, but that's 3 open frames in the first 5 for our number 2 seed, Contour Power Grips. An 88-pin lead early on. We'll be right back. Remember, this team, Lodge Lanes, working on 5 in a row. This is number 6 for Bennett. Oh, there's number 6.
Well, he's definitely color coordinated, if nothing else. He's got everything going for him. This is the son of former PBA professional bowler John Bennett, and you can see that he's inherited a lot of that kind of talent. Even though this was kind of a lucky strike, the going away Brooklyn, still you can see by his style, the good form getting the foul line, the good slide position at the foul line, the shoulders over the knee, good follow through.
Doug Becker, he had a strike in his first frame in the first, and 2 in a row for Becker.
Doug comes back with that look on his face like, how did that happen? You know, I don't think he expected to hit the head pin. Here's another look at that shot. Watch how far down the lane it goes before it starts to hook. Cleared about the 55-foot mark, and then it makes a right turn. Hit him thin and watch him spin.
Well, we are halfway to perfection, Earl. 6 down, 6 to go. 7th frame, Larry Walker.
Big, strong left-hander, and he's playing a lot deeper in the lane than Doug Becker is. Becker playing out near the channel from inside the second arrow and bellying the ball out. And this young man, this lefty, is playing around the third arrow and bellying the ball out. So he's getting the ball in the lane a little earlier, getting more roll on it. Shouldn't be any problem with the spare. Switches balls, goes cross lane. Good cover.
Lodge Lanes, our number 3 seed. It's a semifinal match against Contour Power Grips. Storm Vice Grips, the number 1 seed, waiting for the winner. So we'll have to put that $25,000 away for at least one more game. Gail Myers Jr. for Contour Power Grips. 7th frame. Got it. It's 2 in a row now for this team.
Well, you can see by the look on his face that he's not real proud of that one, but I tell you what, when he sits down and looks up at the score sheet, he's going to say, hey, I got a strike. Nothing wrong with that.
Look, Mom, I got a strike. Yep. Both teams getting a couple of breaks, though, in this first game.
Yes, they are.
This is Bobby Jawar. 8th frame for Lodge.
Those Brunswick pins are flying around pretty good back there, and these guys are all using reactive resin bowling balls on their for the strike ball, which gives you a lot of power in the back end. The problem is getting it down the lane far enough before it hooks, and so you'll see all of them being able to throw it fairly hard, keep the ball in play. You need good ball speed.
For the spare in the 8th, and he gets it. This team, Lodge Lanes, was 8-2 in match play, but our number 1 seed, 9-1 in match play, tying the all-time record. Joe Natoli now, 8th frame for Contour. Joe, 35 years old, 1987 Wisconsin Bowler of the Year. They're working on a double.
And again, Joe throwing the kind of rotation on the ball where it's not going to cut through the pocket area and hit real hard. And the reason he's doing that is he can keep it in play much easier. The more you try to side turn the ball or hook it, the harder it is to control. Joe Natoli, being a very experienced player, all he's trying to do is get the ball to roll up into the pocket area, and that's why he left it kind of the weak 10. It just didn't hit very hard, and not a difficult spare. Joe, an excellent spare shooter.
Well, they've seemed to ride it themselves now, haven't they? But now they still have that big hole to climb out of after the hot start from Lodge Lanes. They're still down by over 80 pins. The 9th frame, Doug Spicer.
And like as you mentioned earlier, Bob, there's no such thing as a safe lead in the Becker system. When they switch lanes, it can turn around in a hurry.
Spicer in the 9th.
There's a little light at the end of the tunnel for the Contour Power Grip team. Lodge Lanes, handpicked by Bob Goike just for this specific lane condition. I find that so interesting. See how he's putting his hand in the ball, only using one finger and a thumb. And the idea here is that he won't hook it as much. He can control it more. Just roll it down the lane right at it, and not quite enough. Didn't get to the 2-pin.
Well, the first chink in the armor for this team. That's their first open frame, and we're through 9.
This game could end up really fairly close. If Lodge Lanes were to open the 10th and come out with, say, 220, Contour Power Grips were to strike out for 191, it would be a pretty close match.
Jace Peterson in the 9th.
Oh, look out. Well, he moved the 10-pin just enough that he could chop the 6th off of it. And he's got to be very careful here. He's going to go through hard and straight from cross lane right at it. Try not to hook the ball.
Just like that, huh? The spare in the 9th for Contour Power Grips. We had a tremendous field here this week. 79 teams from 22 states, including current Team USA, last year's Team USA. Matt Serena was here. Bill Lillard. Good to see him again this week.
Bill Lillard, what a name. There's a Hall of Famer.
Now Goike, the anchor man for Lodge. That's 2 in a row for Goike. Now Goike, Earl, we've mentioned that these teams are not entered in Baltimore, so it's the last shot for these teams to go to the Grand Championship tonight. But Goike will be there because he won in Minnesota, so he will be in Kenner, Louisiana.
Strikes in match play by Bob Goike. The Becker system, 55% is excellent Strike percentages, as you know, the format is quite simple. We had 79 teams. They bowled 6 qualifying games, regular team games. Total pin-wise, we went to the top 10. The top 10 went into Baker system match play. They bowled 10 two-game matches with 15 bonus pins if you were to win a game. 20 more if you win the match, the total pins. So a possibility of 50 bonus pins each two-game match. The top 3 teams with their pinfall and their bonus pins we see here this evening.
Strike here for a big 242. Still a big game for Lodge Lanes in this first game of the semifinals. And this anchorman will also see Earl in Kenner, Louisiana, because he won in Atlanta earlier this year with Don Carter Lane, so he's going, but his teammates need this win tonight to join him.
And if you're just wondering at home what happens to Dennis Rakakis' team if they were to win this, what they do is they have to replace him with a bowler of like stature. In other words, if he's an amateur bowler, they have to replace him with another amateur. If he were a professional, say a touring player, they could replace him with a touring player, a regional player, or an amateur. But you can't go up, in other words, but you can go down. In other words, as far as what they might call the quality of player.
And they already know, Earl, who his replacement will be if they do win tonight. It will be Brian Brazeau. He will take the place of Dennis Rakakis. Well, a big, big first game for Lodge Lanes, our number 3 seed. They have put number 2 Contour Power Grips in a big hole, but remember, they switched lanes, and there's one more game to go in the semifinals. It's an 85-pin lead at the moment. We'll go Anthony back with you from the NKC Pro Bowl in North Kansas City, Missouri. The Brunswick World Team Challenge, the Hera Open. And this is our second game of our semifinal match. 239, 154 in the first game, an 83-pin lead for Lodge Lanes. Now remember, they've switched lanes after the first game, so Contour Power Grips in the hole by 83 starts on lane 41. Boy, what a field we had this week, Earl. Not only the top 3 that we're seeing tonight, a very strong top 3, but a strong top 10, including the current Team USA, just missing our show tonight, finishing 4th.
Difficult spare here, the 3-6, 9-10, excuse me, 3-6, 9-10, the 2-4, 7-8, and he got all but the 2.
So an open early, first frame for Contour Power Grips, and their hole gets bigger. In 5th place this week, Storm, a team from Fulton, New York. 6th place team from Spokane, Washington, another Contour Power Grip team.
With the Matt Serena we mentioned earlier on that team. The current ABC singles champion.
Kelley Bennett first frame. Oh boy!
Well, this is what you normally call overhit. By that I mean the ball cuts through the pin so hard, the 5-pin actually goes behind the 7. Watch the 5-pin right in the middle of the lane go behind the 7. And that's why he didn't get the 7 out, and of course he left the 10 because of the angle, extreme angle. Got to try to bounce it out of the pit, doesn't get it.
So a couple of opens from both leadoff men in the second game of the semifinals. Again, our number 1 seed waiting for the winner, Storm Vice Grips, a team that really dominated so far, but we've seen it before. It's tough sometimes to close it out. Gail Myers Jr. in the second frame for Contour Power Grips. Gail, 30 years old, and the winner of 1 regional PBA title.
Watch his eyes. He looks at the pins all the way. Never looks down at the lane until the ball leaves his hand. It's unusual. Very few bowlers, especially at this level, do that. They generally have checkpoints on the lane, a target they're looking at, and try to roll the ball over.
More of our top 10, Dexter USA, including members of last year's Team USA.
And Paul Moser, former PBA bowler on the right there. Little Paul Moser, who's going to be 50 shortly. Wants to go on the senior tour.
Had to get that in, huh? Columbia 300 in 8th. Coach's Corner in 9th. And rounding out our top 10, a team from Omaha, Kelly's Pro Shop.
Looks like 2 different teams there. They joined forces.
And the spare in the second for Gail Myers Jr.
Well, Contour Power Grips needs to get it going. They can't continue to just try to match marks or opens with these guys. They're just too far in the hole. 85 pins is just too much to make up without throwing a string of strikes.
Larry Walker, his first time on lane 42. And the same, I think, Earl, for this Lodge Lanes team. They want to have a strong second game. because they got a very strong #1 team probably waiting for him in the title game.
Watch the back end here. Look at this ball, how hard it hooks in the back end. This is reactive resin. Once it grips the lane, there's no holding it back. It doesn't stop hooking. It just continues to hook. Used to be you had a plastic or a rubber bowling ball, you rolled it down the lane, it would start to hook, and then it would kind of stop, just kind of set up. These reactive resins, most of the time, just continue to go.
Back to Joe Natoli, but the hole's still a big one for this team.
This is a very clean bowling center, well maintained, and the lane condition is very playable. The back ends are very clean, so you get a lot of hook on the back.
Ron Hopper, the center manager here in NKC Pro Bowl.
Joe's throwing the ball in such a way that he is not going to get a very good ball reaction, and I don't think I've ever seen him release the ball quite like this. Watch his hand. He just kind of dumps it off his thumb, doesn't get any side turn at all, and the ball just rolls end over end and doesn't finish. Here's an angle from the side, the classic style of Joe Natoli. He looks good getting there, but he's just not getting the good ball reaction at all, and I don't like the way he's releasing it. Now that was much better release there. That one actually had some rotation on it. A little whimsical smile from Joe as he comes back.
How disappointing this must be for this team, Earl. I mean, they came into this semifinal match really with high hopes about winning this match, winning the championship, moving down to Kenner, Louisiana, and so quickly they fell behind so large.
It's hard to keep up with the team that throws 6 in a row actually coming out of the gate. And anyway, I'm still impressed with the fact that Goike picked 4 guys he thought could play on the World Team Challenge lane conditions and did such a good job of it.
Yeah, that #2 seed Contour Power Grips in our position round, they beat our #1 seed 2 in a row. So Goike did their team did a wonderful job putting their squad together.
Cross lanes here. He tried to throw it hard and straight at the spare. And look out. There's another little chink in the armor. Well, they're getting lots of opportunities. There's no question. It's up to Contour Power Grips to get it going. Lodge Lanes is waiting for them, and if they continue to make mistakes, it can turn around in a hurry.
That's right. They need a big string here. Contour Power Grips. We'll be right back. The lead is 76. Earl Anthony back with you from the NKC Pro Bowl in Kansas City, Missouri. Contour Power Grips needing to put a string of strikes together and just unable to find any rhythm at all. This is Jace Peterson in the 4th frame. They've all got that look on their face. Look at them back in the background. They're just staring up at the ceiling. Wondering what time their flight is.
Well, that's one way to look at it, I guess. Well, they've dug such a big hole, it's just almost impossible to get back. Got to watch this ball. It never even grips the lane, and he wanted this to go to the left side of the head pin, and he was fortunate to get the pin action off the wall.
Doug Spicer, 38 years old.
Very fidgety with his hands.
Yeah.
Wants everything to feel just right. Gets it on the lane in a hurry, and it's just going to go hard left. Doesn't look very comfortable up on the approach, and it looks like he's really struggling to get comfortable with his hand, especially in the ball. And if your hand isn't comfortable in the bowling ball, it's very hard to make any kind of a good release, or at least a consistent release. Consistency being what the game is all about.
This team, Earl, had a 239 on lane 41, but they're the first 4, at least in the second game on lane 42. They're struggling a little bit. What's the difference that you see in lanes 41 and 42?
I don't see a lot of difference out there. I just think they're not making good shots right now. I think they're kind of coasting in here. They were aggressive coming out of the gate, the opening game. Everybody was pumped up and charged and making good shots, good ball speed. Now they're kind of steering the ball, just say, hey, we've got a big lead, just play it safe. You almost see that in their attitude.
For Koskis, he will be at the Grand Championship event because he was on the winning team, the Don Carter Lanes team in Atlanta. He's the anchor man, and he got a break there.
Well, his footwork wasn't the best. It looked like he was sliding almost on 2 feet there when he got to the foul line. And Dennis not real happy with the way he got there, but he's tickled with the results. Watch his feet. As he gets here, he's sliding sideways. Whoops. He looked like he was sliding into second base there.
He's playing in the French Open on clay.
There you go.
All right, the ABC Hall of Famer. Lives now in Belleville, Michigan, 42 years old. Bob Goike.
Of everybody out there, especially, I mean, on his team, he knows more than anyone, or at least better than anyone from prior experience, that you have to not stop. You've got to continue to work hard because it can turn around so quickly.
We saw Goike recently at the event in Eagan, Minnesota, and he was on the championship team, so he'll go to our grand championship event. He's trying to bring these teammates along with him.
And you saw his stats there. A tremendous amount of experience in the World Team Challenge, and very successful.
79-pin lead through 5 frames of our second semifinal game. 239, 154 in the first game.
Well, it's now or never for Contour Grips. They're on a strike. They need to get it going, and this is the guy to do it. Doug Becker, the left-hander, they needed him to get the strike here, and shouldn't have any problem. The left side looks very playable today, and there's a strike.
Beautiful. Becker in the 6th. This will be the last time around now for all these bowlers.
This is exactly what we've been talking about. Bob Goike out there working real hard, knows that it's not over, knows that his team needs to get some strikes, or at least not any more opens, or that lead can disappear in a real hurry.
'25-year-old Kelley Bennett, 6th frame for Lodge Lane. Oh, and he answers. So they keep the big lead, and it looks like they're cruising to a championship showdown against #1 seed Storm Vice Grips. We'll be right back. Bob Dolan, Earl Anthony back with you as we come down the home stretch of our semifinal match at the NKC Pro Bowl in North Kansas City, Missouri. This is the Harrah's Open. Lodge Lanes apparently on their way to a championship date against #1 Storm Vice Grips. 7th frame, Gail Myers Jr. for Contour Power Grips.
And that pretty much slams the door. They needed to just keep that string of strikes going to have any opportunity at all to advance. And this one through the middle, they hit him again. That arm swing out to the right, tucks it in at the bottom. He got it. He really released this one well, but just wasn't lined up to the pocket. Leaves the 3 and the 6. Try to cover them both with the ball. Well done.
Lodge Lane's team from Belleville, Michigan. Of course, that's where Bob Goike, their captain, their anchor man, is from. His team was 8-2 in match play. And they're one step closer, it looks like, to a grand championship invitation. Although they're not setting the world on fire in the second semifinal game.
You know, it's interesting the match play, how it did turn out. We already mentioned that Storm Vice Grips, our tournament leader, tied the record for the 10 match format with 9-1. Our Contour Power Grips is 5-5. So they did very well pinfall wise. Look at the stats here of Larry Walker.
0 opens.
Never had an open on television until now.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? And there it was.
And he still almost got it. Well, is that too little too late, you wonder? Joe Natoli. You like this guy's style, don't you, Earl?
I do. It's very basic, and I like the guys, the classic stylists. I like to watch those, the guys like Jim Stefanich, Dave Davis, Joe Natoli, not quite in that caliber of player, but he does have that kind of a style, that good free arm swing from the shoulder, good control of the bowling ball at the bottom, and a good rolling in.
Beautiful ball from Natoli in the 8th for Contour Power Grips.
All right, this one, he put a little revolution on it. Watch the side rotation on this ball as opposed to the forward rotation he had before. This ball goes down and arcs to the pocket. Or before he was trying to roll that forward roll, no, he couldn't control the back end. Much better release from Joe Natoli.
Bob Jawar.
Big Bob.
He is indeed. 8th frame. Oh, this lane 42 they are having trouble with.
No question. Now it's starting to look like Contour Power Grips was on the tough lane to start with. The difference between the two lanes as being shown by Lodge Lanes here. They were shooting the big 239 on lane 41 and struggling on 42. And if Contour Power Grips had gotten out of the box maybe with a 180 game instead of a 150, they might have had a shot at it. But they're not making it up for it on the other lane anyway, so it's not like they're going to shoot 30 and lose.
The lead still 59 pins for Lodge Lanes, our #3 seed, as we head to the 9th frame with Jace Peterson. Jace is a member of a winning team back 1 year ago down in Florida.
He's only had one open in all that play, and there's his second.
We better stop
the kiss of death here. No more stats for these guys. We'll just let them finish this out. Here's another look at that shot, and Jace is pretty happy with this. He released it well. You see he's got good balance at the foul line. He likes what he's done, but the ball just creeps up in the middle of the head pin and the 4-6-7. He's going to shoot it left-handed. Watch this. Just kidding. Just kidding. But I got you to look, didn't I?
We better stop calling up that graphic, Earl. We're 2 for 2 now.
That's right. Jace just getting over heart surgery just not too long ago and recovering quite well. Still bowling well. It's good to see him back healthy again.
Only 35 years old. We wish him well. There's Doug again.
Doug's trying to find the holes. There they are. Got him. Okay, here we go.
It's usually the first step, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. All right. He might like this one. Hold up to the middle. Look at this. Well, there's what they call a reactive resin spare, or split, whichever one you want to call it. Here's another look at it, and he lays it down so quickly that if he doesn't get it well down the lane early by forcing it down the lane, it's going to hook up in the middle of the head pin, and he's had problems with it, and now he's got a spare. Very makeable. It doesn't look like it, but he'll try to slide the 3-pin across into the 4-7. Gave it a good try. Lost a lot of count there, and they're down into that 140 bracket now, and if front contour grips had done anything at all in this second game, we'd have us a match. But as it is, Lodge Lanes is going to just kind of coast into the championship match.
But you wonder with how much confidence.
They're going to have their hands full against Joe Natoli and his team. They're going to be tough to beat. I meant Joe Vito. I said Joe Natoli, didn't I? Joe Vito. Joe Vito.
Yeah, a team led by Vito, Storm Vice Grips, just took off and ran away from everybody else. Leading the field here by over 300 pins. And it's finally over for Contour Power Grips.
Not up to their standards by a long way. And again, you said, and it was, I think, very important for what you did say, is the fact that that was their last chance to qualify for their championship.
Bob Goike, the anchor man for Lodge Lanes, bringing it home for his team. They'll move on to take on Storm Vice Grips in the championship.
Bringing it home, but they're leaking a lot of fuel right now.
They sure are.
The 2, 7, 8, 10. How did he get the 9-pin out of there?
He went down there and kicked it.
It's going to be an exciting shot. He's going to try to make this.
All right. You see everything here on the Brunswick World Team Challenge, don't you? That's the team moving on. It's going to be Lodge Lanes against Storm Vice Grips. They're the winner. Stay tuned, please, for Around the Bowling World. We'll be right back.
Sports Network.
And now it's time to go Around the Bowling World, brought to you by the High Roller Tournaments at the Showboat Hotel in Las Vegas. The Young American Bowling Alliance will honor 4 of its greatest volunteers in July during the YABA International Workshop in Peoria, Illinois. Michelle Thompson of Clarksville, Tennessee, and Michael Shirley of North Little Rock, Arkansas will be honored as the Youth Leaders of the Year. Thompson and Shirley each earn $1,000 scholarships. Jude Glenn of American Falls, Idaho has served youth bowling for 26 years, and she is the YABA Volunteer of the Year. Clayton Overholtz of Jacksonville, Florida has been honored as the Fred Borden Coach of the Year. The YABA is the service organization that administrates youth bowling. Mike Whalen of Cincinnati, Ohio recently tossed his 52nd lifetime 300 game, tops on the all-time list. Wilmington, Delaware's Jim Johnson Jr. holds the runner-up spot with 51. Johnson is headed to the Brunswick World Team Challenge Grand Championships in August as a member of the Columbia Coup de Seas team that captured the Hubbard, Ohio qualifier back in October. Bob Learn Jr. of Erie, Pennsylvania notched his 50th career perfect game to hold the 3rd spot. The PBA star made his last team challenge appearance at last season's Grand Championships in Reno. Learn's Turbo 2-in-1 Grips team finished runner-up to Team USA. The 93rd American Bowling Congress Championships Tournament winds down on June 11th after 5 months of action at the Salt Palace Convention Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Scott Kurtz tops the leaderboard in the All-Events division with his tremendous score of 22-24. Kurtz made his only Brunswick World Team Challenge TV appearance back in May of 1994 in North Brunswick, New Jersey, with his team finishing in 3rd. Around the Bowling World has been brought to you by the High Roller Tournaments. Call 800-257-6179 for information on how to enter. Our championship match is coming up next. Championships, August 24th through 27th, with qualifying at Don Carter Lanes and the arena finals at the Pontchartrain Center in Kenner, Louisiana. All right, championship match. The winner of this match will go to the Grand Championships in Kenner, Louisiana. It's our number 1 seed, Storm Vice Grips, against number 3, Lodge Lanes. Lodge Lanes will start the championship match on lane 41. That's where they rolled their big game in the semifinals, their big game of 239. Kelley Bennett still the leadoff man.
Well, it's kind of interesting that, you know, they started with 6 in a row. Basically, that's been the scoring we've had up to this point. And there's just no reason for this. The lanes have gone through a transition. The bowlers aren't making good adjustments. Of course, they didn't get a chance to practice while we were away. Only the tournament leaders got practice balls before we come back to the championship match. But even so, they're not even close. They've got to start thinking a little better and making better adjustments, because they're going against a very strong team, or Joe Vito's team, outstanding group of young talent, and they're going to give them all they can ask for.
Boy, and an open in the first from Bennett. Now they followed the 239 game with a 136 in the second game. Contour Power Grips starting lineup brought to you by Contour Power Grips. They're pioneers in the finger grip industry. More pros choose Contour Power Grips, and you should too. Our first look at our number 1 seed, Steve Patterson for Storm Vice Grips.
Now there's a difference right there. He just went right up there and attacked the pocket. There you go, Ron Hopper, general manager here at NKC Pro Bowl. He's done an outstanding job with him and his staff all throughout the tournament. Just anything the bowlers needed, they were right there to help them out, and especially our crew. Ed Bauer and the group, you know, they'd slug these guys.
And our crew and you and I, we need all the help we can get, Earl.
Oh, don't we?
Steve Patterson with the spare in the first for Storm Vice Grips. Second frame now back to Larry Walker for Lodge Lanes. They won that semifinal match by 56 over Contour Power Grips.
Well, they got to get their head back into this match. They're right now, they're just all over the place, and it looks like they've lost the mental edge they had. They started with that first match with the first 6 strikes, and it looked like they were really aggressive. And from that point on, it was like it was too easy, and they just lost their mental edge, their aggressiveness. They've got their hands full. I keep saying this, and I mean it sincerely. Joe Vito's team is going to attack the pocket. They're going to be very aggressive. They want to win this very bad.
I would think, Earl, that you just can't turn on and off that middle edge, that aggressiveness. I mean, once you lose it, how hard is it to get it back?
Goike's the one that's going to have to get it back for him. He's the team leader. He's the captain. He's the guy that put this team together, and he's going to have to sit there and tell these guys, listen, you guys, come on now. We're out here to win this tournament. We're not going to win it bowling like this. We can't play safe. We've got to be aggressive. Watch this kid throw the ball. No thumb.
Richard Howell. Don't blink. You'll miss it.
Doesn't leave anything in the bag. Let me tell you, folks. Here's a look at it. There's no thumb in this ball. Watch the strength and the power and the rotation here. Oh, my. You wear out a ball about every other day.
I
bet. It like that.
Wear out a few pins, too.
But watch how he lays it on his wrist here, cups it going back. Takes a lot of strength to do that, especially to throw it that hard. Now he put his thumb in the ball to shoot the spare, the 3-6-10.
And he gets it in the second for number 1 Storm Vice Grips. High game this week was from the team we just eliminated, Contour Power Grips, with an 1178. John East at 299 for the high individual game.
Those are good scores.
And there's John again with a 704 for the high series. Rudy Kay was here. Didn't make the show, finished in the top 10, his team did. Third frame, Bob Jawar.
I tell you, it's they better get it together in a hurry. Matt Serena, look at there. There's a player. He can bowl on anything, that guy.
And here's the regular and Baker scores for our top 3. Look at that Baker score for Storm, a 212.8. 9-1 in match play for Storm, tying the record for a 10-game format. Spare in the third for Lodge Lanes. Joe Vito, first look at Joe.
Joe has a unique style. He looks like he's pitching a softball. Have you ever watched a softball pitcher, how they kind of set their foot sideways and pull the ball from underneath their hip? Watch this. There you go. And it usually ends up right there when he throws it, too. He's throwing strikes in more ways than one. Joe, an outstanding player, always been one of the top amateurs in the country, outstanding player from down around San Antonio in Texas. And won a lot of events there in the Texas area. Texas known for having outstanding talented bowlers, people like Gary Dickinson from out of that area.
Joe also teamed up with Anne-Marie Dugan for a couple of LPVT mixed doubles titles. Joe gets the spare here in the third. So both teams sort of feeling their way at the moment in our championship match. First game, our #1 seed is up by 9 early on. Fourth frame for Storm Vice Grips while we were away. Doug Spicer in the fourth for Lodge Lanes. An open frame in the fourth with an 8 count. Now Waliczek for Storm Vice Grips. Fourth frame, beautiful ball from Waliczek. Strike in the fourth.
It's such an obvious difference between these two teams, and I keep saying this because it should be obvious to everyone at home also how aggressive Joe Vito's team is, the Storm Vice Grips team. They're just attacking the pocket, going up and at him, not trying to throw the big hook, just being very aggressive, as opposed to Bob Goike's team, kind of just trying to throw it in hope situation rather than being attacking the pins.
Well, Goike will attack, but he leaves the 10.
Goike, I've been watching him sitting on the bench, the guy that put this team together. I expected him to be talking to his players, saying, come on, you guys, this is a very strong team we're bowling against. We can't afford to give him any kind of an opening. But he's not. He's just sitting there kind of thinking of his own game, and it's not going to work. They've got to get it together, and they've got to get out there and just attack the pocket, be aggressive.
Fifth frame and an open.
Oh my.
Boy, and the least guy you'd expect it from.
Here's another look at that spare shot, and Bob using a different ball, going cross lanes, a ball that he thinks will skid, and it skids. When it gets to the out of bounds area around the 6 board, it's gone.
And he has struggled this week with the spares, Earl.
A unique release here, and it usually ends up just like that, where Joe Vito's ball did.
Mark Dyson, the anchor man for Storm Vice Grips, and they're starting to open it up.
Throws a little spinner down there, gets that thumb down and lets the ball come off early off the fingers and the thumb almost together as he turns his wrist and his thumb down, and boy, it just stays right on line and hits real hard.
Well, second time around now for this club in our championship match, and it's time for these guys to turn it up a notch or two. Bennett,
3 or 4.
Beautiful. That might get him going.
Here's another look at that shot from Bennett, and this is the best shot of the match so far by their team other than Bob Goike. A little more aggressive there, a little more attacking, and they might run out of frames in a hurry. This could be one of those matches that never even needs a second game. Joe Vito's team, again, is just outstanding ball club. They like to go up and at it. That one skidded right by the head pin, the washout, the 1, 2, 4, 10. Kind of overthrew that one. Actually, the washout hasn't been that difficult to spare this week from watching the match play and watching a little bit of the qualifying rounds. The ball is easy to control when it gets to the head pin rather than sometimes hooking very sharply across the lane, and they've been picking the spare up quite frequently.
And Patterson, oh, he got it to go. Steve Patterson, the spare in the 6th for #1 Storm Vice Grips, and they maintain their lead in this first game of our championship match. We'll be right back. Watch Patterson convert. Bob Dolan and Earl Anthony back with you from the NKC Pro Bowl in Kansas City. Joanne Hauser in the crowd, Director of Services for Harrah's. This is the Harrah's Open. And we're back to action. Larry Walker, 7th frame for Lodge Lanes.
What happens to the left-hander now as he moves in? In other words, more toward the center of the lane. In other words, the ball starts to hook too much for him. The logical adjustment is to move more toward the center and try to find more oil. But as he does that, he gets into the right-hander's track area and the ball wants to hook earlier. So it wants to cross the head pin. Then he opens up the lane, gives it more room, and it skids by the head pin. So he gets very confused. He's moving in the wrong direction is what this whole point of this conversation is about. He should be moving to the left and throwing harder and straighter rather than moving to the center of the lane.
Wouldn't you think one of his teammates would advise him?
Well, they're all right-handers, and they don't know what he's playing on over there. And me being a left-hander, and I did a little bowling earlier and tried to feel the lanes out, so I had an idea what they're playing on. I noticed that if you move in, it hooks early.
There's that ball from Richard Howell.
He looks like he ought to be playing in his linebacker for the Rams or somebody, doesn't he? He's a big boy.
Really does. 28 years old.
Only one open in those 2 Baker games he's bowled in the past. See how he puts his thumb in the ball. This ball won't hardly turn over, but it'll get there in a hurry.
Look out. He got it. Spare in the 7th for Howell, and Storm Vice Grips maintains a nice cushion of 41 pins. Moving into the 8th frame means another look at Bob Jawar.
They really need to get a few strikes here in the end of this game so they can salvage something before they start the second game of this 2-game championship match. And this is the guy that should get him started right here. Lead him into that last 2 bowlers, and he just has no chance there. Absolutely none. What's happening now, the oil is moving around, the reactive resin balls move it in a hurry, and they move it out of the first 15 feet of the lane or the head area. It makes the ball hook earlier. Now the right-handers have to do what the left-handers have to do. You have to get away from that area of the lane. The right-handers have 2 options. They can go way left and play on the left-hander's side of the lane and go around the track area and skid the ball a long ways that way, or they can go outside of it around the second arrow or just outside the second arrow and throw it hard and straight. That's what Joe Vito's team is doing. They can play hard and straight outside that second arrow, and they're making it work for them.
And either option is good?
Either option is good. Yep. Whichever makes you the most comfortable. And watch Joe Vito. He'll be right around that second arrow, and he'll throw it hard and straight. He's not going to try to hook it.
Joe's a veteran of TV Baker games with 10 of them. Vito in the 8th. Beautiful.
That's smart play there. This guy's now Joe Vito, if he wanted to, he could go inside and hook it. But watch what he's doing here. Watch the second arrow. The ball just inside the second arrow, not hooking it a lot. End over end roll. Perfect shot. Just like a slingshot off his hand there. Watch how he pulls it through sideways. It's like somebody's pitching softball, doesn't he?
Doug Spicer.
Great move there. Now there's what I'm talking about. See what Doug did?
Yeah.
He moved to the right. He got away from the track area. He switched bowling balls, got away from the track area, went up to the pocket with end over end roll. You see him taking the ball he was using before for strikes off the rack and setting it over there.
Yeah.
That's a ball that hooks. He doesn't need that anymore. He's got one that won't hook. He's going right up that second arrow. And that's where these players should be playing rather than fighting the ball track area, which creates an early hook.
Waliczek was 16 TV Baker games.
He spends almost as much time on television as Eddie Bauer does. Oh, what a break that is. My. The bucket crumbler. The 2-4-5-8 falling forward. Here's another look at that shot. Hard and straight, right up the second arrow. Good forward roll, just enough the head pin to create some action back there, and they fall forward. Bob Goike, his team on a strike. They could really use a couple from him right here in the 10th frame.
Need to stay close here. Oh, boy.
That's disaster. That's kind of makes Joe Vito's team look pretty good. They're thinking, boy, we put this out for 230. We're going to have about a 100-pin lead going into the second game.
They're going to be in the same shape that this Lodge Lanes team was in our semifinal match.
That's right.
Remember, they won their first game in the semifinals by 83. And now they're going to be looking at a big hole.
You know, it's incredible. I never thought this. I knew Joe Vito's team had an edge because they are playing the lanes the proper way, but I never thought it would be this big a difference in pinfall. Again, watch Mark Dyson's release. This is an exceptionally unique release. You see where he cocks his wrist to the inside. The ball's actually outside of his shoulder, but his elbow's into his belly button. Watch what he does with his hand. It's right over top of the ball.
Boy, it sure works for him.
The last time I saw anyone throw the ball this way successfully was Hall of Famer Wayne Zahn. This is almost identical release. Here's a look at it. Now you see his hands under the ball, but watch at the top of the follow-through, his palm is facing the pins. His palm is facing the pins. What that means is that he's rotating his thumb straight down to the floor and coming up with his palm facing right at the pins, which is a spinner. And when you throw that, your speed control has to be perfect or the ball will break either very sharply or it won't break at all. So his speed is excellent. It's a unique style, hard to play, but he's been exceptionally good at it for a long time.
He is sure on his game here tonight. The anchor man for our #1 seed, and they're going to have a very comfortable margin, Earl, heading into our second game.
It'll be somewhere around that 89 to 90 pin bracket, and that's almost comfortable what it was in that opening match. But see how they're playing the lanes? They're playing them very smart. They're playing just around that second arrow. They're taking the track area of the lane, which is the most difficult to play, out of play, going right around it, just like that.
So our number 1 seed, Storm Vice Grips, off to a big start here in our championship match. They're up big over number 3, Lodge Lanes. Remember, though, they're going to switch lanes and one more game to go here in the Becker system. 230 to 142. It's an 88-pin lead. We'll be right back with you from the NKC Pro Bowl in Kansas City, Missouri. First frame of our second game of the championship match, and this is our number 1 seed. Storm Vice Grips up by 88 pins as we begin. 230-142 was the score in our first game. Now they've switched lanes, and it's total pinfall.
Well, Steve Patterson, a little adrenaline going there. He just kind of overthrew that one, threw it right by the head pin. Now he's going to try to cross the head pin for the spare, and he can get it down there real.
I'll say.
Boy, I'll tell you what. But he's got the adrenaline going. They're looking like they're going to win this championship, and he's going to go to Louisiana. And he's just a young guy, and he's really excited about that. But he did get the mark, and that's the important thing. Fill those frames. That's all they have to do is fill frames, and they're going to Louisiana.
What a turnaround, Earl. I mean, remember the first game of the semifinal match. This team here, Lodge Lane, started with 6 in a row.
I know, and they're completely lost now. They got the strike. Mr. Bennett got the strike, but he had no idea where that ball was going. He just kind of threw it down the middle of the lane, and he's still trying to play that track area, and he can't control it.
ABC Director Marv Townsend in the crowd. Of course, his help and all the local association people, they help at all our events. Very much appreciated. Here he is, Earl. Richard Howell. Howell liked that one. After he let it go, he put the right hand up in the fist. He thought he had it. So this team marching on, Earl. Marching towards Louisiana.
And as typical of all the teams that have won one of our regional tournaments, it's a tremendously talented team. I'm looking forward so much to watching all the talent that's going to be in Louisiana. It's just going to be so much fun to watch these guys bowl each other. Head-to-head match play in the championship rounds. It's just going to be outstanding.
It's going to be August 24th through 27th, the Treasure Chest Casino. Team members who have already qualified: Parker Bone III, Mike Edwards, Hugh Miller, Billy Young Jr., Mike Miller, Billy Myers Jr., Chris Barnes, of course, all of Team USA. This group here, the champions tonight. Some of the best European teams are going to be there, both Team USAs, even teams from the Far East. What an event.
That's why they call it the World Team Challenge. We've got teams from everywhere.
I look forward to, Earl, at the final's going to be at the Puncher Train, the arena setting, and that's wonderful in bowling these days.
It is. It's outstanding. It's so exciting. You get these big crowds in there, and they really get involved and get into the action, and the screaming and hollering.
Yeah.
And it's almost like being at like a major sporting event.
Yeah. And this team looks like they're on their way. Remember, all 3 teams in our final field tonight, it was their last shot to go to the Grand Championships because we have one more event that's in Baltimore. And these 3 teams are not entered in Baltimore, so they were looking at some pressure tonight. And the number 1 seed looks like they're on their way.
All right, now what happened there? Their leadoff man, remember how hard he threw the ball and it kind of just sailed by the head pin? Joe Vito, very observant. He watches this, and I don't know if he said anything to the leadoff man or did you throw a good shot or anything like that, but Joe was watching, and he thought, well, this lane's probably a little tighter. I'll just go a little more direct. And the ball just hooked early on him. You see the grips he uses in his bowling ball there? Couldn't make up his mind which color he liked the best, so he's got 3 different colors.
Very color-conscious team, in addition to being talented. What's coming up on the Brunswick World Team Challenge? Well, one more, the Country Club Lanes in Baltimore, June 22nd and 23rd. They're sold out. The women's event going to be at Perry Hall Lanes in Baltimore. They're sold out too.
48 ladies teams going to be there for that one. That should be an outstanding event. Oh my, they just have completely lost right now. They're just bowling like they're trying to finish it up.
So we're filled up for the remaining event this year, Earl, but next year we're already accepting entrants, and call 414-423-3387 to get your team in, and call early because they do fill up. Looking like the same schedule next year as we had this year. Over 20 stops all around the country. Up and an open from Jaywar and from Lodge Lanes, and this match for them just keeps getting longer and longer.
Yeah, right now I think if someone said let's call it a day and I think they might agree to that.
Meet you in the lounge.
Meet you in the lounge.
Yeah. Well, you called it though, Earl. You knew this #1 seed was going to be real tough to catch. Of course,
well,
the other team's making it easy.
Pretty easy to call the way they bowled the match play. But I just like the way they attack the lanes. They're playing the proper angle into the pocket area, and it's just much more playable there around that second arrow than any other part of the lane. The more you move left, the earlier it wants to hook. Until you get completely to the point where you're maybe playing the 5th arrow, which is on the left-hander side of the lane, but that's such an extreme angle, it's much more difficult to play.
That Waliczek has a wonderful game, doesn't he?
He sure does. Now here's a man that's changed bowling balls, made a move, playing more directly from the outside, and I think he made the right move. That one's not going to get it. Yeah, he did. He got it back, got the strike. See, that's where he should be playing. If he could get the rest of the team out there, they'd have a chance in this match, but it's too late now.
This team, our #1 seed Storm Vice Grips, the apparent winner, it's a great lineup from top to bottom, very solid.
Yes, it is.
And you know,
outstanding. A young team.
Every time we crown a champion, Earl, you and I sit here and say, boy, this is going to be the team to beat.
Yeah.
In the Grand Champ. Well, I think we've said that about 20 times this year.
That's right.
But this team's very impressive.
Well,
he just keeps marching on.
Got a break there. That one got away from him a little bit. There's another look at it. He gets a little off balance here. When the ball left his hand, it was started up toward the head pin, and fortunately for him, he had a little hook on the backhand to cross over and carry.
Well, Goike will be at the Grand Championship event. He's the one member of this team that has already qualified with another team, so he's going.
Bob having a little wrist problem. He's recovering from an injury to his right wrist, and at times it'll lock up a little bit on him.
And an open frame in the 5th, and
well,
it just keeps getting worse and worse for Lodge.
That's just that's just a lack of really caring right there. That shouldn't be that way.
Storm Vice Grips well on their way to the championship here. Earl and I will be Dolan and Earl Anthony back with you to bring it home. The Brunswick World Team Challenge, the Harrah's Open in North Kansas City, Missouri. Last time around now for all the bowlers. Leadoff man Steve Patterson for Storm Vice Grips.
Steve is throwing at just about max ball speed for him, about 23 miles an hour. He's getting it down there just as quick as he can. It's just amazing. He's throwing it so hard, he's actually rearing back at the foul line.
They're filling the frames, one of the keys in the Becker. Of course, at this stage.
Now, right now, you're bowling for just really your own sense of well-being, you might say, or something, your pride, because there's no chance that Lodge is going to win this match, and they all know that, and so does all of Joe Vito's team. They know that, but still, you don't want to go out there and make bad shots. It's just more of a sense of pride. All these guys bowl pretty much for a living. They may not be professionals, but they bowl around the country in various tournaments, even around the world. Some of them, like Chris Barnes and people like that travel around the world. And the thing is that you don't want to get into the kind of a mindset where you don't care. You've got to always maintain that competitive edge. So that means, what that means is at any given time, regardless of the outcome of the match, you still try to make a shot like a professional would. So what you're trying to do is bowl for pride. You're out there doing the best you can, even though you know you're going to lose. This is always fun to watch. See the thumb on the side of the ball there? Boy, he's strong. Look at this. There, watch this one.
Beautiful.
There's
Richard
the
Howell.
There's the smile. There you go. He says, I knew I could do it. Here's another look at that shot. Now watch the pins. When the ball hits the pins, watch how the pins go straight up in the air. Boom. My. I tell you what, I don't know how you learn how to do this. I remember there's a guy that bowled on the tour for a while and wasn't very successful. And he went home and he thought he had to learn to hook the ball to be successful. And so what he did is he started bowling with a 12-pound ball without his thumb in it. And he continued to do this with heavier and heavier balls, and then he came back on the PBA tour, and he shot 300 on live television for $100,000. And I'm just a minute, and I'll get his name here. I'll bet you.
You remember the money, didn't you?
I remember him doing it. I remember how he went about doing it. And now he bowls on the tour. He's won a few tournaments. And no, And what happened was Bob Benoit. You got it. Way to go, Bob. Bob Benoit is the name, and he went from like a 12 to 13 to a 14, and now he's bowling with 15-pound balls. Look at there. Look at there. Oh, Joe Vito.
Joe Vito.
He's kind of hanging around. Isn't this fun, guys? He says, aren't we having a good time?
What pressure, he says.
They're liable to play the Texas National or Texas State Anthem here for us.
You know it?
The eyes of Texas are upon you, or something like that.
Are we at that stage yet, Earl, where you're going to break into song?
No, we're not. We'll never be at that stage.
Good.
But, we are at the stage where we're going to set a new World Team Challenge record for difference in pinfall in a championship match. There's no question in my mind that I don't remember ever seeing a team get defeated this badly.
Bobby struggled here this week with the spares, but he picks a tough one here.
Having a little problem. He's happy it's over for him. He's all done. He had a lot of problems with his fingers, and got them all taped up. And the Storm Vice Grip team is performed outstandingly well all throughout this tournament. They led the qualifying rounds. They were 9-1 in match play, dominated the match play, and we already mentioned several times that they tied the all-time record for the most matches won in the 10-game format. And they just keep rolling along. Even their bad shots turn out to be pretty good. Now that one should have been a washout. He ends up not with the 1-3, excuse me, not with the 1-2-8-10, but only the 1-2. Pretty easy spare.
Well, Earl, I hate to do this to you, but
no, I'm not going to say that.
I wouldn't ask. You've seen all the winners this year.
It's the fat lady that's supposed to sing.
Is that right?
Not the fat guy. So.
You've seen them all this year.
Yes, I have.
Is there any way to handicap the field that we're going to see down in Louisiana?
No, you know, it's going to be such an evenly matched field. It's all the teams are like Joe Vito's team. So talented. It's just going to be fun to watch because no one, I don't think, is going to have a chance to run away with it down there. It's just too many really good, fine players and outstanding teams.
Of course, the international field going to be there again this year, Earl. And last year, remember, at our Grand Championship event, they were very strong. The team from Finland.
Oh, yeah. Well, the best bowler from Finland is going to be bowling on one of the teams from this country. That's Mika. Remember Mika? I can't remember how to say his last name, though. Kuvinami or something.
Mika Kuvinami.
Yeah, well, he'll forgive me.
Mika
Everybody just calls him
better.
Mika. Everybody just calls him Mika, and outstanding talent. Probably the best bowler in all of Europe. But he'll be bowling on one of the American teams, so Finland's going to be missing one of their finest players.
I love the foreign flavor of our Grand Championship.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's a long year to get there, but it's sure worthwhile when we do get to the Grand Championship to watch the talent, the outstanding ability of the players and the teams come together for that chance to be crowned World Team Challenge Champion. Boy.
Best team in the world, that's what they're shooting for. The 199 game for our champion, Storm Vice Grips, on top of their 230 game in the opener.
Bob not taking any time at all, just trying to finish this out and get it over with. And that's when you make the best shot.
Sure.
And the reason you do is you're relaxed. You don't worry about anything, and you get to the foul line with good rhythm, and you just let it go. I'll tell you what, folks, a little tip for everybody at home. If you stand on the ball, on the approach with the ball in your hand for any amount of time, all that does is make everything tense up, and you can't make good shots. Put your hand on the ball, start walking, and roll it. You'll do a lot better.
Yeah, you were never one to stand up there and look around and fool around, and you got up there and went, didn't you?
Everybody should. That's the best way to play it.
All right, it's over here in North Kansas City, Missouri at the NKC Pro Bowl, and our champions are the #1 seed, Storm Vice Grips. They just rolled to an impressive win, and they're moving on to Louisiana, and they're going to join a very strong field down there. All our winners going down to Kenner, Louisiana, including these teams. The winner in San Antonio, Boulevard Bowl. Chicago, the team, Vice Grips, a strong team there. All our winners going down to the Grand Championship event. Vice Grip Storm from Las Vegas, Ebonite, the team, the victors in Fort Worth. All our stops this year all around the country. And the winners move on to the Grand Championship event, joined by our winner here tonight in Kansas City, Storm Vice Grips. They join that field. 98-pin victory. 230-142 in the first game and 199-189 in the second. We'll meet them in just a moment.
Is brought to you by Brunswick. Bowling is sold on Brunswick worldwide. By Lynn Shoes. For the performance approach, it's American-made Lynn Shoes, the choice of top professionals and amateurs alike. By ABC MasterCard. Get a grip on your finances with the ABC MasterCard. By Keepsake, designer and manufacturer of championship ring awards. By DBA Products, the industry leader in lane maintenance equipment. By Avis Rent-A-Car, the official car rental agency of the American Bowling Congress. And by the American Bowling Congress and the Women's International Bowling Congress, providing championship service to sanctioned leagues across the United States. Make sure your league is sanctioned by the national governing bodies.
Here are your champions in North Kansas City, Missouri. Storm Vice Grips, our number 1 seed, and they win it by 98 pins. Impressive all week long. Joe, Vito, how much was it on your mind that this was the last shot to qualify for the Grand Championships?
Well, we should have had 2 shots because we were supposed to bowl together last tournament in Minnesota, but some travel arrangements went bad, and only 4 of us got to make it, so we didn't get to bowl. But it was in our minds that this was the last chance, so we just went for it as soon as we got on the lanes.
Well, you ran away from the field from day one. How comfortable were you out here all week?
Well, the lane conditions are tough, and we all knew that coming in, but we make our spares. And as long as we make our spares, and one of us struggled the whole time, but it seemed like when we did that, the other 4 guys stepped up and, took care of the problems that we had. And there was always 4 guys bowling good at all times.
Well, I hope you have some room on the way home. I'm sure you do for some beautiful awards. Joanne Hauser from Harrah's is here. Hi, Joanne. Nice to see you.
Hi, good afternoon. On behalf of Harrah's Casino in North Kansas City, we are proud to support the tournament this afternoon. Congratulations to this team. Good luck to you in the New Orleans. And I hope that you'll have time to come over and visit us this afternoon. We have just opened a brand new casino, the second casino, the Lucky Star. We're now the largest in the Midwest and the leader in the state, and of course the leader in Kansas City. And I know you guys did a great job, lots of enthusiasm this afternoon. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you very much for your support. Joanne from Hauser's. Hello there, how you doing? From ABC, how are you?
I'm doing fine today,
Nice
Bob.
to see you.
Thank you. On behalf of the American Bowling Congress and its more than 2 million members, we would congratulate the Storm team on a very impressive win today. And we hope to see you, we're going to see you in New Orleans, and we'll present you with these rings.
We'll be there.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you very much, Kevin. And what a wonderful job here this week, the GM, Ron Hopper. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Bob. Thank you. Bob, I'd like to first thank our staff for a lot of hard work this week. They worked hard preparing for this tournament, and I hope we made it good for everyone. On behalf of North Kansas City Pro Bowl and Lynn's Shoes, your jackets, and congratulations, good luck in New Orleans.
Thank you, Ron. Ron Hopper. Earl Anthony with, no Earl. All right, here are your winners. Again, they're going to the Grand Championship event in Louisiana, and what a show they put on here in Kansas City. Good night, everybody. The next World Team Challenge telecast is a women's division event from Country Club Lanes in Baltimore, Maryland. Check your local listing.